How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Wells Fargo Bank CEO and President Charlie Scharf making some controversial comments about black employees over at Wells Fargo Bank. Now, I don't think what he said here was incorrect or disrespectful at all. I think what he said was right on point. I believe he was being honest. I believe he was being transparent. I believe he was being respectful. However, some people don't see it the same way. They think that he was being racist and tone deaf and blind, really, to not see what's out there. Now, what did he say? I'm glad you asked. During a Zoom call meeting with some black employees at Wells Fargo, right during this whole George Floyd thing during the summertime, he was there, didn't speak much, listened more than what he spoke. But when he did speak, he said that there's an issue with being able to hire black employees at Wells Fargo, in high level roles because there's not enough to pick from. And he also put that in the memo. And I'll read that quote so you're able to get it directly without any kind of confusion. Quote, while it might sound like an excuse, the unfortunate reality is that there is a very limited pool of black talent to recruit from. Now, I don't see what's wrong with that. I think what he said is right on point, and I'll explain. First of all, it's a numbers game. How many black people are actually in the country? You're talking about 36 million, but how many is that really? About 13% of the population at best, probably about 12%. Okay, Hispanics are more than us at about 20%, and whites are about 65 to 70%. So you're going to have more whites than blacks in those roles based upon the numbers of the population. That's a fact. You may have more Asians and whites in high level roles than blacks and Hispanics, but the question is why? Why are there so many Asians and whites in these high roles at banks and other industry throughout the country? You can see the same pattern. Okay, any kind of, Fortune 500, high level role, executive, you're going to see some of the same patterns. Why? Maybe it's because whites and Asians spend much more time developing themselves from a very young age. Okay, you're talking about doing 2 and 3 hours a night of homework when you're in middle school, high school, college, compared to blacks and Hispanics who spend about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay, might not even do homework, might not do too much studying. When you go to their homes, are there books around or is it PlayStation, Xbox? Don't get it wrong, I enjoy playing video games too, but we're talking about competition between blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and whites, then it's got to start from an early age and you got to put in that work. All right. You can't expect the same treatment that you would get in college as you would out in the real world. And I'll explain that right quick. When you're looking at Ivy League schools, you're going to see mostly whites and Asians. Although Asians are a very low percentage of the population, they're going to be represented very highly in Ivy League schools. So much so that you're going to have a little bit of a conflict between the Asian population and the Ivy League school. I think some Asian students are suing, Harvard or Yale, one of those colleges or Ivy League universities, because they're being discriminated against. Why? It's too many of them. It's like 24% of one school are Asian students. They're trying to keep them out on things not scholastically related. They're trying to keep them out on personality traits, BS things. They're trying to do that to keep their numbers down, to put in more blacks and Hispanics. Blacks and Hispanics are given the leg up artificially. The bar is lowered for blacks and Hispanics to get into these Ivy League schools, but it's raised for whites and Asians. However, when you get out there in the workforce, it won't be the same way. It'll be the same bar for everyone if you're going to be a successful company as Wells Fargo is. So then it becomes a lack of talent to be able to pick from. All right. The person that is going out for the job that's black or Hispanic may think that they're qualified as much as a white or an Asian person from the same school, but are they really? If your bar was lowered for you to get in, but theirs was, heightened, who's going to be better for the role? Okay, who has the actual better talent? I mean, let's just put 2 and 2 together here, right? You got these white and Asian kids preparing for a long time. You're talking about when they're kids, when they're middle school, high school, doing 2 and 3 hours a night of homework, studying, training, preparing, compared to blacks and Hispanics spending about 30 minutes a night, maybe no minutes a night doing homework, no studying, no preparing, no nothing. So once you get to graduate college, the white and Asian students are generally beyond the black and Hispanic because of their preparation early. Now, some are going to say race realism, IQ. I don't know anything about that. If there's any kind of evidence out there, any kind of genetic thing, any kind of genetic marker that says you're going to have a lower IQ as a black or Hispanic person, then I say show it to me. But beyond that, I don't know anything about that. But I do know is about preparation. If you're going to spend 2 and 3 hours a night preparing to become somebody when you get to be an adult from a young age, you're going to be beyond the person that did not do that. Okay. If you have books in your home and actually read these books from a young age, if you learn how to read at a young age, if you learn how to just do basic things from a young age, you're going to be beyond the person who didn't do that. Let's go all the way back to like pre-K, maybe even in the womb. You get parents that read to their children while they're in the womb, right? And then they do little flashcards with them when they're a baby. They speak to them in an adult voice, and they're getting them ready and trained up. So you hear these kids that sound like adults when they get to be 5 and 6 years old. Not literally, but kind of. They're using more adult language. They understand things a little bit better than someone who was just not given that opportunity. You get these kids out here that can barely even talk, can barely read or write, and they're not mentally disabled. So what's the reason? Okay, what is the reason why? It's because they weren't really prepared. You got these kids going to kindergarten, first grade, without the ability to read at all. And you got some parents that have no idea that it's not normal to be that way. Other parents know that it's not normal, and their kids are already reading, writing, drawing, coloring inside the lines and whatnot when they get to be 3 and 4 years old. Okay, and that leg up, that advantage will carry throughout. Studies show that if you're not at grade level proficiency in your reading at by the 3rd grade, you're pretty much toast. You're pretty much done for your whole life. You're not gonna make that up. Generally, I mean, you might make it up maybe if you can't read by the time you get to be 8, 9 years old, you might make it up, but generally that's not how it goes. So there's a lack of a talent pool to select from. You have, first of all, low population numbers, 12% of the population in the United States. Then you have a lack of preparation, and you also have a lack of proper guidance. No dads in the house, mom barely there, drugs and whatnot everywhere. You get a lot of these kids that graduate college or kids that are of college age that already got felony records. There was a stat that came out a few years ago that said 1 out of every 3 black men born beyond 1993 will go to jail at a certain point in their life, whether it be jail or the penitentiary. 1 out of every 3 black men born beyond 1993. So that's a problem right there. Are you going to have a felon working at a high level role in Wells Fargo Bank? I don't think so. All right. Then it's like, all right, what are you going to school for? If you do go to school, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the parties, the Kappa and getting the brand on your arm? Are you focusing on like a low level degree? What are you really focusing on? Okay. Those things matter when you're talking about being able to go out there and recruit. Okay. My dad, as I close, my dad was a firefighter for a very long time, and his objective when he was a recruiter towards the end of his career was to get more black people on the force. And he said it was a struggle. He recalled other colleagues calling him, asking about how to recruit black firefighters. I mean, because you got people that got felony records, people that don't want to do it. Now I understand you might not want to, put out fires, run into a burning building for $35,000. I get it. But the issue is that it was hard to be able to recruit, even with the select purpose of trying to get black people. You go into the HBCUs, you go into the mall, you go into the club, you going everywhere, but it's hard to be able to get people that want to join from a small piece of the population. That's the biggest thing. It's a numbers game. It's a preparation game. If we can stop killing our babies in the womb by abortion, so many per year that is probably more aborted than born. It's like that in New York City, but I digress. If we can stop the abortion, if we can get back on track with the family, if we can have better preparation from a young age, put more time into scholastic efforts rather than trying to play basketball and football only, then we'd be able to get more numbers in high level roles, we'd be able to get our own banks. You got these athletes that got plenty of money to capitalize a bank and start that up, have a black bank. Why don't we do that rather than trying to say, oh, we're not in a high level role? Get better prepared, get your own bank, get employees in there that know what they're doing, and have it roll like that. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that the Wells Fargo CEO, Charlie Scharf, was on point with what he was saying? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or was he not on point? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. You guys know where I stand. We got to prepare better. We got to do better. If we're not doing our job properly, then we can expect anyone else to make up the slack. All right. You're getting that slack made up in college when you get admitted when you're not really qualified to go to a particular school. You're qualified for a different school, but maybe not Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or something like that. Okay. And the harsh reality is that a lot of these kids go to these schools, spend all types of money for no reason. It's crazy how the liberal does you. They'll appoint you to a particular place to just drain your pockets dry, knowing you shouldn't be there, give you an education that, quite frankly, is subpar because while it's a good education, you're not prepared to be able to receive it because you didn't do all the practice before like everyone else in your class. You're going to be at the bottom of your class. You're going to graduate with a big mortgage on your back with no house. A degree is kind of useless because you didn't get educated properly. And then you're going to go through the ranks and struggle to make your way up because you are not what you think you are. It's really unfortunate. We can get beyond that if we just, get rid of all this affirmative action and all this kind of weird stuff. Go to where we're best suited. And before we go anywhere, higher education, workforce, we have to train and prepare our children for whatever they want to do in life. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.